G'day, I'm Rhino and this is how I sharpen knives. The knife I'm going to sharpen is not of any great quality. It's one of those Jarvis Walker knives that you get from the kits in the chain stores. Probably a 4-piece kit, so if you would divide the cost of the kit by the number of components in there, you're looking at a $5 knife. So not a great knife, but if I can get a cheap and nasty knife, sharp with cheap and nasty steel, you can just imagine the edge that we can get on some good quality steel. So this is the edge before sharpening, and it is useless. Okay, I'll get to work and we'll see the results at the finish. This is the tool I use. It's a Wicked Edge precision knife sharpener, and I've got the Pro Pack 2 upgrade on it. The upgrade kit means I get the ball joint pivot arms with the longer guide rods to accommodate the riser block to get the edge higher off the ground to give me steeper angles. What else have we got? The longer base rod to give me a better variety of angles that I can use, more flexibility, and micro adjustable, which will become obvious once I start sharpening the knife. This box contains my diamond stones. I've got grits all the way from 50 up to 1000. Each pair of stones has a different size grit on either side. For example, 50s to 80s, 100s to 200s, 400 to 600 and 800 to 1000 grit diamond stones. The standard kit comes with 100 and 200 and 400 and 600, so I have accessorized up. To refine the edge even further, I have ceramic stones and also diamond pasted leather strops. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the working surface of the blade, which in this case is 6 inches or about 15 centimeters, and I'll make a mark at about the halfway point, so somewhere around the 3-inch mark, and I'll do that on both sides. The center point for most knives is a pretty good starting point, but it does vary depending upon the shape of the knife. I'll put the knife in the vise now. The Wicked Edge is essentially a vise, and what I'll use then is the depth key. There are 2 sets of holes here, a lower set for deeper set knives and a higher set for the shallower ones. This is a shallow knife, so I put the depth key in the top set of holes for the shallow knives and just line that center mark of the knife in the center of the vise. Grab my Allen key and I'll just nip up that top bolt, making sure that the knife is resting squarely on the depth key. That's okay, and then what really holds the knife in position is this bottom bolt that really grabs in on the knife now. That's in the vise, firm, tight, ready to sharpen. What I do now is grab my thick texter and I'll just run that along the edge of the blade on both sides. And then I'll grab my 1000 grit diamond stone and I'll just start rubbing away at the surface once I get my pivot arm set up, just so I can determine that I am getting the stones to the edge. With my diamond stone on the guide rod now, I start in fairly shallow and I'll just take a few swipes at the knife edge before taking the magnifying glass just to see where that texture's being rubbed off. And I can see it's being rubbed off low, well below the edge. There's still black texture on the edge itself, so I'll need to move these guide rods out slowly until I see that I'm starting to remove texture mark from the edge of the knife. So I've moved my adjustable tool out a little bit further. I'll take some swipes at the edge again, get the magnifying glass to see how I'm tracking, and I can see now that the texture has been removed all the way to the edge, so I'm confident now that that's the angle that I need. And I'll take my angle cube and get a precise measurement. This is called an angle cube, and what that's going to help me do is help me set up the knife sharpener to get precise angles on either side of the knife. So what I'll do is I'll put it in front of the knife sharpener there and I'll turn it on, and you can see that we're not perfectly level, but I can tear this off So in relation now to the knife sharpener, it's perfectly level. I then take the angle cube, and it's magnetised so it sticks to the diamond stone, and if I then rest that against the knife edge, I can see that I have an angle now of 20.15. What I might do, just to round numbers out, is I will now get the Allen key on the opposite side, and I will adjust this micro adjustment and bring that figure out to an even number of 20 degrees. So I'll have 20 degrees on either side of the knife. So hopefully you can see there now that I've set that up to 20 degrees on the left hand side, and I'll go ahead now and do the precise thing on the right hand side. Now, although I know on both sides that I'm getting to the edge of the bevels, that doesn't mean that the two bevels actually meet. And if I have a flat surface between the two bevels, I'm never going to get a sharp knife. So what I need to determine now is that both bevels are meeting to an edge. And I do that, first of all, I've got my 100 grit stone to start off on this one, is I'll just work one side for a little bit. And what I'm trying to do here is create a burr on the left hand side, and I can do that by using my finger. It's almost there, I can start to feel it. And if I do create a burr, that means I know I'm getting to the edge because I'm pushing metal over to the one side. Once I do get a burr on this side, I'll do the same with the left hand side. I'll remove the burr and then push another burr over onto the right. I then know that both bevels are meeting to an edge in the middle, and I can go ahead and start the sharpening process. When I've finished using one stone, I'll always give the knife blade a bit of a wipe just to remove the dust from the previous stone so as not to cross-contaminate the next one. So I've done the 100s, all I need to do now is roll them around to the 200 side and continue the process. As we polish out and remove the scratches from the previous stone, you'll start to feel it, you can hear it, it takes on a different sound. Then you know it's time then to move on or move through your stones to the next finest one. Okay, that's the knife done, up to the 1000 grit only. I've still got a whole box of ceramic stones and leather strops to go through yet, but I'll take it out of the vise now and we'll see how sharp it is. Well, that's a very quick and basic rundown of how I go about sharpening my knives. I hope I haven't bored you too much. I guess if you've watched to the end, that's a good thing. And now I'll show you some results. Now, considering that's a shit knife with shit steel, that's a pretty good result. And as far as using it on the boat's concerned for cutting up bait and whatnot, I couldn't ask for more. Thanks for watching, guys.